Good evening, everyone. Please take your seats. I am Professor Erkki Hohtamo from the Department of Design Media Arts here at UCLA. It is my great honor to introduce you our speaker tonight, Masaki Fujihata. Masaki Fujihata is working right now as a UCLA Regents Professor at Design Media Arts, and also he probably will talk about his project, but also working on a very ambitious art project for Los Angeles. Being a Regents Professor is a very high honor in the University of California system. So this is basically happening on the sort of like highest level in the university hierarchy, and we are very proud to have Fujihata with us here. So if we think about the world of media, art, technology, all these connections, so there are many so-called classic figures. So artists whose work has been dealing with many different forms of technology has been shown very widely internationally and is really highly acclaimed. And I'm very proud to say that Masaki Fujihata belongs to the very top in that very, so to say, exclusive in that sense list of artists. Masaki Fujihata comes from Japan, but his works have not only been shown in Japan, but I would say all around the world. And what is rather special about Fujihata's work, I think, is that it really has covered many different technological forms, and not only in a technological or engineering spirit, but in the spirit of a true art, critical, innovative art form. Fujihata has always been among the artists who have been the quickest to start researching emerging technologies. So these days, even students, so many people use 3D printers, and many people think that this is a very recent possibility. But little would they know that Masaki Fujihata started using 3D printers, producing 3D objects from computer files back in the 1980s, at the time when the great majority of people had no idea that such technology exists. In the early 1990s, Fujihata found another new possibility for art making, and this was called GPS, Global Positioning Systems. So this was also something that at that point was very rare. So there were some military uses by the US Army in the first Iraq War and things like that, but practically no one as an artist had tried to see what can be done with that kind of technology. And this led to one of his classic project, the so-called Mount Fuji project with really heavy GPS equipment. Since then, there have been interactive artworks, virtual reality artworks, artworks with all kinds of global positioning systems, and most recently, works that deal with augmented reality, geolocation, and very soon Fujihata is going to pioneer the use of even more recent upcoming technologies, and this is going to happen here in Los Angeles. So Masaki Fujihata has also been teaching in many places around the world, in Japan at the Keio University, and then the Tokyo University of the Arts in Yokohama, not to mention the numerous universities and art schools around the world that have hosted Masaki Fujihata. So we are very honored to have Masaki here with us at UCLA and here tonight at this event. So please help me welcome Masaki Fujihata.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me to be honorable Regent Professor. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Christian. We know each other quite a long time because I think it's a kind of circle related to media art, which was emerged in the 90s, mainly in Germany, France, and also Japan. So that was a moment. It was so interesting, people gathered, we get together each time in a different location, in a different exhibitions, but the members are almost the same. That was the 90s. But anyhow, okay, I start my talk today because we only have 1 hour. So I put a title, Liberate Technology from Capitalism. So when we started my work, 80s and 90s, there are a lot of optimism. So we really enjoyed to play with the technology. But now things coming more capitalism, capitalists try to control technology. So I really want to go back in the 80s and 90s, play with technology in free mind. So there are a lot of programs, but anyhow, I would like to show you the list of different projects and try to show you some taste how to deal with technology with myself. The use of technology brought a human as a human. When we look back from the ancient age, technology like something, hit something. So this is a technology we invent. So this is the difference from animals. So nowadays, of course, some animals like a chimpanzee also can start to use some tools, but very few animals can use the technology. So the human was born by inventing the tools. But now, information technology reached to mimic our way of thinking. People say, artificial intelligence. So this means technology make human as a machine now. Can't you imagine? This is, upside down now. So the technology tried to take over the humanity. So this is very interesting moment now. So this was caused by a very strong idea of rationalism by the capitalism, because they want to make things cheaper, faster, easier, just a click a button. They want to earn some money. This is the situation. We need more art. Yeah? This is the topic I will tell you. So this is the photo of myself my father took when I was 3 years and 9 months. So imagine, originally this was a traditional form of photography printed on the paper. Then I made a scanning by digital scanner. But even within this photography, we can see many different layers of technology. So the photo was made. That's why we can see now. I can show you now. Yeah, and also we can copy from the photo to digital format. That's why I can use with this presentation. But even inside, me is now playing with how do you say the stick for the fire? How do you say in English? Matches. Okay, matches. That's the same in Japanese. Using matches. Match is a technology about to control fire. This was a high technology at that period. Yeah, but I'm not using the matches for making fire. Using the sticks for making a figure, copying, mimic the figure of an electronic train. He is trying to make a picture of electronic powered train by using matches. Even this is very, very interesting to me. Then, so this is the how do you say it? I transform the shape. So, this is the objective view done by my father. But this is a subjective view of the drawing. This can be done by digital technology easily. Of course, by using a special technique, optical tools, maybe we can make a similar image, but we are very common now how to use Photoshop. Then just 2 minutes, I can make this subjective view of the drawing. So then after made this one, I recognized the length of the matches is longer than making window. Then maybe my father, or I hope I could invent the bent the matches. If I could not invent to bend the matches, I cannot make this figure. So there is one point how I could find out to bend the matches. This is, technique. So these, only by using this photography, I can tell you a lot of different dimension of technique and technologies are embedded within this photo. Okay, then from here, I try to describe into my artworks. So the first one I want to show you is using panoramic camera, because when I bought one simple panoramic camera, I was very much fascinated because panoramic camera can show you objective view and subjective view. Okay, so here is the movie. So this was shot in Paris along the exhibition with the famous novelist Adolfo Bifo Casares, South American novelist. In the middle of the space there is a panoramic camera, looks like a microphone, and this image is now projected on the wall. It is very, very confusing for the user. Now the cameras go back. So there is 2 cylinders. One cylinder contains the recorded image, and the other one is real time. this is a closed circuit system. So the camera live feeding the image in the space, and the computer is used to process the image into the different shape. In a way, this is a kind of, in a way I can say this is a kind of distorted mirror, but more than the distorted mirror, because there is several different algorithms is controlling. So first one algorithm change this shape, and then the second algorithm coming out, and then another one, and then another one again. So then the user, the role of the user is about to know what's going on behind the system, and they need to find out where are they, because usually when you see the mirror, you can easily orient where you are, because the mirror is front. To depend on the axis, you can see yourself inside the mirror. But in this case, mirror is already distorted, and sometimes the position of the user itself is going somewhere. It's invisible, but sometimes your body will come back again. So I think this piece contains several different aspects of programs related to cognitive science. So how can we recognize yourself inside the image? So this is a kind of piece, and this piece itself is make you confused and doubt about your being. It's a kind of piece. Okay, so this was the first document of the exhibition year 2003 in Tokyo. So this is some capture from the computer. And then the next one, also dealing with the medium itself, which reflects yourself. So these three of the piece is a kind of piece about to include the user itself. So this is one of the new category in this field, because usually computer is an object about to put some information, then you got some information. So there is the storage, there is algorithm, there is an interface. People can play the computer. This is the typical relationship between human and the computer. But this piece is dealing with the image of the user. Then the user will be included inside the piece. So the user will be a part of data. So there is the mirror, but this mirror is a fake mirror. All the image is now generated according to the position of the user's glass. So she wears the glasses, polarized filter glasses, and there is some sensor to detect the position of the glasses. Then the image is now rendered according to her position. So it's a bit unfortunate because it's not possible to capture 3D images. But for her, all the image inside the mirror is totally, correct position, correct orientation. So she feels it's almost like actual real mirror, but the computer would not render herself. Only the glass is rendered. That means she started to feel she is invisible guy, invisible person. So this is very, very interesting feeling when you wear with this machine. So you will be invisible person by using this. So this gives you interesting experience about to doubt your existence. Yeah. So this was the first prototype I set up in Tokyo. Yeah, here is the infrared transmitter and the infrared camera about to detect the position of glasses. Yeah, okay. Then, yeah, I also would like to show some piece, as Eric already referred to me, the computer sculpture, because this is the very first experiment to me after I played and after I worked a lot for computer graphics images for commercial, and I also sent a demonstration tape for C-Graph in the year 1983, 1984. But after struggle with 3D data, I really frustrated because I cannot touch the data itself. You know, nowadays we have a virtual reality to see the 3D model more interactively. Looks like object exists in front of you. But on the other way, completely opposite way to capture the 3D model is using 3D printer. So then I found special software. It's a CAD software, which was made by Dr. Chiokura. He was a professor at Keio University at that moment. Then I asked to him about to use the machine. So then he introduced me to the president of a Makino Fries company. Then he gave me a chance to use his factory. So this was shot at the factory of a Makino Fries, and then I put wood block on the bed of the machine. Then I can make this sculpture. So, you know, this is also interesting approach between the image and the object. So everything starts from image, but after that I try to make a real object from the image. Yeah, okay, I should say something because, you know, conventional idea of sculpture need to have absolute size, because the size of the sculpture is very strongly related to a physical world. But in this case, I can make a sculpture by using same data and generate different sizes. So at the beginning, I've been believing this is a sculpture, as I mentioned, computer sculpture. But in real, after I generated, you know, then I got this size. There is a big one here, but I also have about 30 centimeter size. I got it, then I rotate the sculpture, then I recognized, wow, this is real-time 3D rendering. Still, this is 3D object, even this is 3D object, but my eye thought this is just an image. So this was one of the surprising experience. So, yeah, what we are seeing. And then two years later, 1989, I was introduced to another company who just started to generate the machine for at that moment they said the stereolithography using special resin which will be solided by ultraviolet laser. So these objects on the right side all are made with this resin. It's a former before people calling 3D printing. So this was also a very interesting experience. And also I made a very small sculpture. So you can see there is 3 dots on the surface of silicon. The size of this dot is smaller than 1 millimeter. So this, you know, rectangle is the size of that dot. So inside that dot, by using SEM, scanning electron microscope, you can see these sculpture. So again, this was so interesting. I don't know whether you know the process of this, silicon plate processing. It is very heavy, using very heavy chemicals. Somehow, when I, how do you say, had some gas from the system, my body gets very, very tired. But please imagine, there is a very heavy physical process exists. But we only can see the object by using special device. We cannot see the object with our bare eye. So again, this is just an image. So I've been struggling 3 times about to make a sculpture using a numerical controlled milling machine and the stereolithography and the micro machine technology, all are just images. we only can see the images through the object. This was my very silly experience with the sculpture, with the concept of sculpture. Okay. Then I think I'm a bit odd person, or maybe I love to do bricolage. Do you know the term bricolage? It's a French term about to play with the technology and materials. I think only artist is doing bricolage, but sometimes this will give us a good chance about to invent something. So for me, it is very important to invent new way of using technology. After we invent the way of using technology, somehow we discover how to use it. Sometimes we discover the purpose. We can discover the real purpose of the technology itself. So please think about, invention and discovery, and then invention again and discovery. This is interesting, going back. So I think that is my curiosity about to play with technology. So this project started when I found the GPS unit. In the year 1992, I found an announcement on the newspaper. Sony started to release a special device about the GPS. The moment the device is only antenna and serial port device, there is no display, there is no software. But once you connect it to the computer, then we will get the numbers. Numbers, just the numbers coming out automatically from this device. This was so fascinating. The machine automatically, output data about my location. This is great. Even, we don't know where are we, but the machine can tell you by numbers. This is so funny. Then I started to think about measure the Mount Fuji. That might be interesting. And if I, walk around the top of the Mount Fuji in 2 hours, and also when we go around the bottom of the Mount Fuji, for example, like 2 hours, then the shape of the Mount Fuji must be just a straight cylinder. So this is a kind of idea I got with my bricolage. Then I really want to make a straight shaped Mount Fuji. This was the first idea I started. Yeah, actually I did it, walk on top of the Mount Fuji and the bottom, but bottom took a lot of time rather than 2 hours. Then this couldn't make sense, but anyhow, that's a trial. So it's me, and the other person, my former student, with a laptop, and this is 8mm camera, and each one need to bring a battery, lead battery, originally used for a bicycle. how do you say, the bike. Because from the beginning until the end, we nearly spend 12 hours. So in these 12 hours, all the machine need to be up. So we brought a lot of batteries with us. And then I got an idea. Instead of making straight cylinder, we can use the so-called deformation method, like Hokusai used to make this Mount Fuji shape. So look, this is the original shape of the Mount Fuji, but Hokusai make this steep Mount Fuji for making actual impression, visual impression. So this is a technique called deformation. So I use deformation about to match my speed of climb up by visual images. So we climb up Mount Fuji in the year 1992, and then I needed to spend 2 years to generate this image, because now it's easy. You can use Google and so on, but I need to get the thematic mapper image. The thematic mapper image is showing the mountains and the snows and so on, the image from the satellite. But also I need to buy mesh data from a map company in Japan. So these companies, institutions are not collaborated each other. Then my student, I think, spent 2 months or 3 months about to match the texture image and the 3D model. It was early 90s. So this is the shape, but in this case, it's already 12 times, the height is 12 times higher than the actual one. But look, this one. So this, spike shape was generated because of my pose. So depend on the speed of climb up, when you have some rest, that means you got a little bit tired. Then tiredness is showing the Mount Fuji is bigger. So this is the basic schematics to deform the shape of Mount Fuji. And then I got this image according to these algorithms and original data. We climb up Mount Fuji in the year 1992. So for making this image, I needed to spend 2 years. And also, this is the image I showed you before, this one, used about my climb up data, ascending data, and this shape was made with descending data. So because one side of the Mount Fuji is covered with a lot of sand, so it's very, very easy, like a slipping from the top to the bottom, very, very easy. So very, very high speed. That's why I could have a needle shape. So both these, images showing the impression of my climb up and descending. Thank you for Hokusai. Okay. Yeah. And I could organize one show in ICC in Tokyo. I made a video database showing the process of this project using silicon graphics. And once user click some of the yellow dots, then the movie starts. So this is a very fast model about the video database. Oops. Sorry, movie doesn't move. So the movie should work, but anyhow. Okay, but this video database gave me a lot of different ideas. Then I started a series of different projects using GPS. So here are the list of the project I could realize, because perhaps the the GPS is so simple. As I told you, it gives you the position, longitude, latitude, and altitude, and time. Only 4 data, but this can gives you a lot of different topics. So the first one, this is a collaborative project with the local residents, try to make a shape figures on the surface of the lake. And also this is a collaborative project with a local resident in the UK. So people walk around the edge of the small island. This is a kind of a collection or database of personal activities. And also this is more personal project. I walk around my small village. And also I made an interview on the border between France and Germany, because I had several interesting experience when I was in Germany, because I was an artist in residence in Zekkem, in Karlsruhe. Karlsruhe is located very near to the border between Germany and France. You know, before EU started, when I visited to a French side, we can use mark, German mark, but the exchange was a French franc. So so interesting, because I am a Japanese. I do not have a certain experience about crossing the border through the same continent, because we are surrounded by the sea. So for us, abroad is beyond the sea. So the experience just to cross the border, you know, there is nothing visible. But suddenly we are in the French side, and people speaking French, and they are using French franc. This is so strange experience. So this is the project about to ask silly question: who is crossing the border? What is the reason you are crossing the border? This is a collection of silly interviews. But this is so interesting. Everybody has some reason for buying ice cream for the children, buying toilet paper. German people try to go to French side to buy wine, and then the French people buying a cigarette for Germany, because the balance is slightly different. So this is the kind of project. Yeah, this was one of the screenshot at the supermarket, parking lot at the supermarket. Yeah, and this was one of the shot on the bridge. And yeah, next project was generated, realized in Geneva. I used the Panoramic Camera, and also this is a music piece. It's very nice music piece on Ireland, a northern island. So this is the lines. Yeah, there's just many Stonehenge. How this is Stonehenge? Stone circle. It's so beautiful. The nature was so strong. Okay, then I would like to show you video about this project, because this project was realized with the local art school in Nantes in France, and it's a collection of shout using GPS. But this project is a little bit different from other project. Because I coined the concept of meta monument, because for example, when we had a big event or some how do you say, historical moment, after that usually people start to make a monument like an obelisk or some statue of a Napoleon or something. It's a monument, it's a physical monument. But I'm curious about how can we make a monument inside the network, inside the digital domain. So this is one of the challenge.
This is an art project for making a collection of people's shouts. We designed special medium where people can join. And also we challenge to connect real space and digital space into a new format. Actually, we invite people to shout in the location at La Martinière, a public park along the river Loire in Nantes, in France. We set up a special circuit, path for the bicycle, and the bicycle equipped with video plus GPS camera. And then people, while riding on the bicycle, shout, and this image and sound were recorded. After we captured data, we put these into the computer and processed to organize 3D data in a cyberspace. While we deliver each path made by each participant as a layer, we can make a tower shape or let's say tunnel shape we can make. This is not exist in real space. We just see the data on the display, and of course we can share the image with other people. So this is not the conventional monument for keeping collective memory. A kind of physical monument or a statue or building or bridge and so on. But this is rather symbolic image and also functioning like a place. Actually, it's a medium for generating memory. This is important. So this is the project to generate memory into a new form of monument. I've been saying this concept as a meta monument with collective memory. Anyway, this is still ongoing project. We are now planning to do a second recording event in October at the same location. Please come and join us. Thank you.
Yeah, I really wanted to continue this project, but in some reason this is quite difficult to continue. I need more money because the area is very near to the river. Once the river flooded, some of the part of the bridge was already rotten, so the small town didn't want to allow to use these rotten bridges, so it had stopped. So I need to get the money to repair the bridge. So yeah, so most of the user is shouting according to their name, transformed to Morse code. So this correction is not only the correction of shout, but a correction of their name, their signature inside. So it's so beautiful piece. I really like this piece. Okay, so I will skip this one. So it's kind of a project to make a series of books organized by Anne-Marie Duguay. She is a researcher for the media art. The first book was made with Muntadas, but the sixth edition was made with myself. So I needed to spend 3 years about to compile so many data into a format of a book. So I have a book in my room, and also I think the library has this book, so students can go to the library and play with this piece, because this book is using augmented reality about to connect the paper with the video information, and something more because okay.
This is an unusual book titled Anarchive Number 6 Browse Content by Their Own Curiosity. This is very different
So
way to
same piece
interface
is now transformed
the
into the
content
AR format. So
onto the
that
physical
is a
book.
map about the location, but by using special software, you can see same content with AR format. So once we got, that means once we got the data, we can make a different type of output. I think this is very interesting aspect of a digital production, digital art piece. So conventional art form is always connected with the physical world. The piece must be occupy a physical space. But by using digital, we can change the output. So even the format, even the way of showing changes, the data will not be changed. So I think this is completely different type of thinking from the conventional art. Okay, I will not have much time. I try to show you the very, very recent project I realized in Hong Kong. The title is Be Here, using augmented reality about the reenactment of the history in Hong Kong. So history is invisible. This is a new media design to retrieving the memory with the public people. So this is one of the old photo I could find out on the internet. Then I cut off the human figure from the past and put it on the present street. This was an image composited by Photoshop as a proposal. It was made in the year 2017. Then at last, the project launched into the Wanchai area. I spotted out 10 different locations. Each location can show different figures. So like this is a kind of a park. There is one lady is standing, but inside the doublet, people can see two other more human figure. And this, two human figure was referred to this old photo. So I also found this one on the internet. After that, we cleared the copyright. That's why I can use. Then I don't know why they are standing, but it's quite interesting to think about what they are talking each other. Then I made a scenario and then directing the actors, try to simulate that the things had happened in the past, and this is the kind of result. And there is a shoeshine boy, and there is a street photographer. This is the photo. Shoeshine boy doesn't have a shoes in 60s. There are a lot of small business generated happen on the street in Hong Kong. It looks like the street is a public space people can use freely. In real, not, but this is a kind of attitude of the residents in Hong Kong. But by seeing these photos, I feel a lot of freedom. Then I really wanted to focus to reenact this moment. And look, this one, he has something here, the vegetable, and they said this is a small meat. So in that period, there is no refrigerator. Every evening after the job, he went to the street, then buy some meat and the vegetables, very small portion just for his dinner. And also there's no plastic bag, just shreds they bound by hand. This was the common way of their shopping at that period. Yeah, this is reenactment. And also the open air restaurant was very popular. Most of the people having breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the street. And this is a kind of recreated shot. This project started with these old photos.
Oh.
Yeah, then we discuss and we reconstruct the scene by a special technique to make 3D model.
You worked on it for a long time?
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
We are Hong Kong people, but
Yes.
we do not know this history.
Actually, we did the interview with elderly people here in Wan Chai. They were very energized with the photo. They started to talk a lot about behind the scene, and these are a good reference for me for direct the actors.
It's more interesting to have the behind the scenes stories.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Introducing the types of fish. I can't try.
Disappear.
咁到幾時冇啦
應該要7幾年，
？70。
7幾年開始冇。
我細個都見到，
因為7幾年咧，
7幾年喺
7幾年
街市
係啦，都仲有啊。
有檔伯伯。
このまま。Okay. Maybe you are choosing something, yeah, and then maybe you said, "Oh, this is too expensive."
Okay, so
Yes. So
I have to scan this.
This is a studio using 70 cameras. Okay, so this was the project I realized, and this is so fascinating because I really don't want to focus on the so-called history controlled by power. I really want to go into the private, stories, so-called people say micro-narratives, and try to capture ordinary life. I think that is the only way to know, or that is the only way to think about contemporary, the concept of contemporary. So the past and now, present doesn't have any difference because we are eating breakfast and we will sometimes hungry, then we will eat again. So this is the same. The past and the present are same. But when we compete by using this technology, we are start to think about the differences, tiny differences exist. That is a kind of curiosity to go into. So this is a kind of idea I insist while in the process of this project. And now we are, I'm very happy I came here, and I'm now thinking about the history of Los Angeles, and I'm a Japanese person. I was born in Japan, and I feel very comfortable while I'm in the UCLA. Now I have nearly 20 students, but almost beyond 50% of students came from abroad, like East Asian, to China, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan, and some other country, and also a Turkish lady and South America lady. So it is so healthy, unbelievably comfortable to me. So former years, about 30 years ago, I had several chances to come here for joining SIGGRAPH. The moment I feel some exclusion. So one side maybe is Asian, but also I'm a bit small. So I can remember the days, when I at the bar, I asked to get margarita, then he shout to me, "Show me your ID." This had happened 30 years ago. I don't know, maybe the same thing will happen to me today. But anyhow, there was a several experience about excluded. But I'm really curious because after the World War II, Japanese society fight a lot against the America about human rights. At last, they won in the year 1988 to ask president to say apologize. So I believe in this over 40 years, our Japanese community spend a lot of energy about to say something. So that is one of the interesting story I found. But anyhow, this is still in the research phase, and I do not want to only focus on to Japanese, but I would like to focus on to many different type of immigrant, because America itself started from immigration. So I'm really curious, and I think this is my first time to think about this aspect of America. So I really thank you for giving me a very interesting chance to develop this idea by using special technique of augmented reality, and also we are planning to use a volumetric rendering. That means the human figures you saw in my Hong Kong project, this figure doesn't move, but volumetric capture can capture the movement. So we can make, maybe some lady invite you, something, this kind of gesture can be recorded. So this is another bricolage I'm now playing with. So please join my project, and I would like to discuss with you together and spend the energy to realize this project in this year. Thank you so much.
So どうもありがとう、Fujihata sensei.
どういたしまして。
Hi. So yes, so we have hopefully seen something that will raise
Questions?
interest for a couple of questions. So does anybody want to ask anything about this project or about Fujihata's attitude towards art or anything? So any questions you would be having? So we have a microphone here if anyone wants to ask a question.
Oh, no questions. How my presentation was good.
There's a question there.
Thank you for the presentation. I was wondering about the process of collecting data or observation, the translation that happens between that and the image as a result. There is this project with the bicycles that go in the circle, and I was wondering, how does the form develop out of the collection phase? So how does that process of translation happen, or maybe you could elaborate on that aspect of translation between the data and the formal results, so to speak.
You mean a technical aspect?
Or anything that, I don't know, seems relevant in that sort of process.
The schematics about voices of aliveness is that each layer is an individual person's activity. So the height is not really matter. So I use the order of recording from the morning to the evening, just the order. But Sorry, what is the point about your question? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, possible, of course. But that was my decision. So I wanted to, as I told you, I really wanted to do the recording day more and more. If I can make this as an annual event, maybe each year I can add 100 more recordings. Then maybe, 30 years later, this will reach to the heaven. Then, people can see this, tower. It looks like a tunnel. It's a time tunnel. So I really hoped about to involve one, lady. If she is 12 years old, then she participated again and again. So all this tower will, is a memory of her, growth. This might be very interesting.
Masaki, I can. I knew it before, but I sensed while listening to you and seeing your images, the great amount of joy and enthusiasm you have while making these works. How much joy do you get out of looking at the work when it's done, when it's on display?
Interesting question. If a project...
And then I add to it, at one point in time, and then a few years later, looking at the same result.
Okay, if the project is successful, after the project completed, usually I'm very exhausted. Then I'm afraid whether I can invent new idea for the next project or not. This is one of the scary moments if the project success very much. But in parallel, usually it is very difficult to say what I did. So now today I talk, a lot, but I cannot do like this when I finish the project. Usually I need 2 or 3 years about to get the word. So this process is very, very interesting to me. Now I'm happy. I can say very straightforward. Voices of Aliveness is a beautiful piece. I really feel this is beautiful. But at the beginning, I could not say, I couldn't have such a word. Then maybe 5 years, 6 years, after I did the presentation, or like this time, showing someone and discuss something. And sometimes, usually I talked with several of a philosopher. Only the philosopher reflects, like Bernard Stiegler or Yuk Hui in Hong Kong. They gave me some comments about very high level, comments about time and space or something. But that makes me, another stimulation. Then I start to find out some words to tell to other people. This is the kind of same schematics had happened around my project. So still the Hong Kong project is quite difficult to tell to me. Wow, so many.
Thank you for the presentation. So a long time ago, well, not that long ago, but in the 80s when you were working with like more industrial forms of 3D printing, and then you were kind of like imagining this art form back then when the commercial version, or the capitalistic, I guess, version of this didn't exist yet. So now that 3D printing does exist on like a capitalistic level, my first question is like, do you feel like the luster of working in that medium has gone away since it's a very accessible thing.
Yeah.
And I want to ask about the same question about volumetric capture, because to me it seems like a reimagining of street photography in a completely different medium incorporating AR.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if when this becomes more accessible and capable for anyone to, give their input, will it feel like a different medium, like it's been not ruined, but like kind of oversaturated?
Yeah. So maybe when you look my biography, each piece has a different attitude against the technology. I think you can see this is a collection of my attitude, variation of attitude. And for me, augmented reality, I think this is based on animism. So here we have more information rather than we see. I think this is augmentation. So that is very interesting concept beyond desktop metaphor. So for me, augmented reality is an extension from a computer interface. So I try to develop augmented reality as a tool to connect some information behind the machine and yourself. And then, so the volumetric recording is a different topic. Volumetric recording is interesting because these data only can be seen by using 2D display. So today I did not talk much about a picture and image. This idea was strongly promoted by Hans Belting, German philosopher. He lived in Berlin. The history of fine art is based on pictures. Picture was supported with some wood or canvas and hand painted, but image is ephemeral. Yeah, but after we invent some technology like a photography, we can fix the image onto the paper or something. But now we are using a smartphone. Now no one talk this is a display now, but for my years we've been thinking this is a display monitor, screen monitor or something. Still people confusing display, screen, monitor. No one decided to single word. Why? This is interesting. And by using 2D display, we only can see 3D models through 2D image device. So now the image device itself is a medium to connect with 3D model now. This, I cannot say precisely, but this is something different, completely different from the history of picture, image, and now 3D. Something now started. That's my intention, my motivation about to know what is this. And also I can say I can connect with the history of sculpture. So concept of sculpture was invented in the Renaissance period when they saw the Greek statues made with marble. But these statues were not the sculpture. These are the kind of object to show the gods. So this was not the sculpture. But in the Renaissance period, they coined the concept of sculpture. So sculpture is not a mannequin, sculpture is not a doll, sculpture is not a marionette. But in my case, for the Hong Kong, it's a 3D object, 3D data. It looks like a sculpture. But in real note, it's like a photo. It's a snapshot, snap 3D, something like that. So we still don't have the exact term about this 3D model. But it is so interesting. We are facing very, very strange error about fine art, history of fine art.
Next to you, I think.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your work, and
I really like the question being brought about, and I kind of have the similar question, because like when thinking about technology, like what you did 30 years ago, you were really beyond your time as like a conqueror of such technology and a visionary to see like what it would be like in say 20 years later. But since the technology itself like is developing faster and faster, it seems to me like maybe the one thing you do today would become maybe like a mainstream stuff like 2 or 3 years later, and it will only be like quicker and quicker. So do you see that as necessarily as a challenge to yourself? And what do you see yourself, like your future goals, for instance, in 5 years?
My way of thinking is not like that. I just follow my curiosity. That's it. I don't care about the future. Not like Alan Kay.
So, I'm so sorry. But a second question is that where do you usually get your inspirations from?
Wow, that's a big question. I really want to know that. But maybe one important aspect might be a pleasure, or have more stimulation, as many as possible.
So we can take one more question.
Yeah, maybe she should. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your talk. I really enjoyed the discussions and also the materials you showed. My question is about your relationship with the history of technology.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that very explicitly with the Be Here project, but I think it also runs through your other work, the use of painterly deformation, thinking about the invisibility cloak as a trope. And you mentioned something about the power in the history of technology. And all these pieces also seem to emphasize some kind of playfulness or an element of play in the reenactment. And so I'm wondering, of these previous uses in the histories of technology, so I'm wondering, can you say something, do you conceive of playfulness as somehow in tension with power in the history of technology? Is that your part of your intervention in these reenactments? Or what's the relationship between the two, between amateur and professional, or playfulness and power?
Actually, some at a certain level, it is quite difficult to control. So, for me, art practice, making artwork, can be only an example, unfortunately. So art is not the mainstream. Art is a stimulation to think alternative way. Then, maybe we can make a small hole here. Only we can do that. I cannot break the wall. Like a project, Hong Kong, and also the project we are going to realize in Los Angeles, going to face the same thing, because when I upload the final application to the App Store in Apple, we need to check mark on the category, which category relate to this application. We should make a check mark. There is no category about art. Can't you imagine? This is Apple. Yeah, amazing. And also, when I try to use AR kit, is a software development kit for Apple smartphone and iPad. Each time I need to update the version. They very much control us. I am really tired about this. I really don't want to work with them, but this is the actual condition. And the highest technology is now go into the smartphone now. Former years in the 80s, the highest level of the technology was occupied by big company. It's the same thing, but not for the public people. But now the high technology need to reach to the public people. This is the situation. So I really, try to break the wall, but usually it's so tiny. But even the hole is tiny, I think we really need it as an art. Sorry for that, but.
お疲れ様。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you one more time.